You ever notice how when you tell people your plans, suddenly the fire inside you feels a little smaller? Think about it. How many times have you told someone what you're going to do and for a moment it felt good, almost like you'd already achieved something? But then days pass, weeks pass, and nothing moves. You talked about it, but the action never came. That's not by accident. That's how the mind works. When you release your vision into the world too early, you trick yourself into believing you've already accomplished part of it. But the truth is, nothing has happened yet. Here's something to sit with. Not everyone who hears your plans will cheer for you. Some people are secretly hoping you fall flat. Others will question you, plant doubt in your head, or quietly keep track of your every move. The more you share, the more you expose yourself. And once you've exposed your dreams, they're no longer fully yours. They become subject to other people's opinions, their limitations, their insecurities. So let me ask you, what if your silence was your greatest power? What if the less you say, the more you actually get done? Imagine moving so quietly that by the time people notice, it's too late to stop you. No noise, no announcements, no explanations, just results so undeniable they can't be ignored. Because here's the truth, people respect what you do, not what you say you'll do. Talking gives people expectations, action gives people proof. And in a world where everyone's quick to broadcast their every thought, the one who moves in silence becomes unstoppable. Now let me take you deeper into why keeping your plans to yourself might be the smartest move you'll ever make. When you decide to go after something big, whether it's starting a business, building your career, changing your lifestyle, or chasing a personal goal, the first thing that often happens is the urge to talk about it. You want to tell someone what you're about to do. You want to hear their reaction. You want the excitement of speaking it into existence. And in that moment, it feels good. But here's the problem. When you talk too soon, you're already letting go of the energy you need to actually make it happen. Silence protects that energy. And without that protection, you're weakening your chances before you even begin. Think about this carefully. Every plan, every dream, every goal starts as energy inside of you. It's a spark. That spark is fragile. It's like fire on a matchstick. If you shield it, if you protect it, it can grow into a flame, then into a fire strong enough to burn through obstacles. But if you expose it too soon, if you let the wind of other people's voices hit it, that flame can go out before it even catches. That's what happens when you talk. You let out the steam, you release the tension, you waste the fire that should be pushing you forward. There's also a psychological truth to this. Studies have shown that when you declare your goals out loud, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical it produces when you've actually achieved something. That means just by telling people your plan, you're tricking your mind into believing you've already won. You get a little hit of satisfaction without ever putting in the work. And once your brain gets that reward, your motivation to grind decreases. You've enjoyed the applause before there was ever a performance. That's dangerous because success isn't built on words, it's built on discipline and relentless effort. If you give away the reward too soon, you kill your drive before it even matures. Silence, on the other hand, builds pressure. When you hold your plans close, when you keep them locked inside, that energy grows stronger. You start to feel it build in your chest, in your thoughts, in your actions. It creates an urgency that pushes you to move, to do, to execute. Every time you wake up, you're not thinking about who you need to impress with your words. You're thinking about what you need to do to make progress. That silence becomes fuel, and it channels everything into action instead of conversation. Let's put it this way. Imagine an athlete preparing for the Olympics. If that athlete spent every training session telling people, I'm gonna win gold, I'm gonna win gold, but never protected their energy for the grind, they'd lose focus. The ones who succeed aren't broadcasting every step of their preparation. They're not explaining their strategy to anyone. They're conserving their fire. They're working in the shadows, building power that only shows when it matters most, on the day of competition. And when that moment comes, all the silence pays off, because the results speak louder than words ever could. Another way to think about it, energy is like money. If you spend it recklessly, you end up broke. If you invest it wisely, it grows. Every time you talk about your plan, you're spending energy on words instead of saving it for execution. And most of the time, those words don't even create value. They just create noise. But when you keep quiet, you're investing. You're storing that fire inside until it explodes into something real, something undeniable, something people can't help but notice. There's also protection in silence. When you tell people your plans, you open the door for criticism, doubt, and negativity. Even the smallest comments can drain your energy if you're not careful. Someone says, "Are you sure that's a good idea?" And suddenly that spark you had feels smaller. Someone else says, I don't think you can pull it off. And just like that, the flame flickers. Even if you're strong enough to ignore them, you've still wasted energy, pushing back against their words. That's energy you could have kept for yourself. That's energy that could have been fueling your next move. By staying silent, you keep all of it. You build in peace. You create without interference. And let's be honest, most people don't even need to know what you're doing. The majority of the world is too focused on themselves to care about your plans in the way you think they do. And those who pretend to care may not have your best interests at heart. So why give them access to your vision? Why give them the chance to steal your energy before you've even begun? Protect it. Guard it. Treat it like the most valuable currency you own, because it is. When you stay quiet, you also build self-trust. You stop relying on the applause, the validation, the reactions of others. You learn to feed on your own discipline, your own consistency, your own belief. That independence is priceless. Because the truth is, nobody else can carry you to the finish line. Nobody else can put in the late nights, the early mornings, the long hours of focus. That's on you. And the more you learn to hold your vision privately, the more you strengthen that inner muscle that says, I don't need anyone's approval to get this done. Silence protects your energy, but it also multiplies it. Every day you hold your plan close. Every day you resist the urge to announce it. You're compounding your strength. And when the results finally come, they hit harder because nobody saw them coming. People will wonder how you did it, when you started, how you pulled it off, but they won't realize that while they were talking, you were building. While they were spreading their energy thin, you were storing yours up for something great. So remember this. Every word you speak takes energy. Every plan you reveal takes energy. Don't waste it on noise. Protect it with silence. Let your actions be the voice. Let your results be the announcement. Because the world doesn't need to hear what you're gonna do. The world needs to see what you've already done. And when that day comes, your silence will have spoken louder than 1,000 promises. Here's a hard truth that most people don't like to admit. When you share your plans, not everyone is rooting for you. Some people are silently hoping you'll fall flat on your face. Others may smile at you, nod politely, even clap for you, but deep down, they're not cheering. They're keeping score. They're comparing your ambition to their lack of it. They're watching your fire and feeling their own insecurities flare up. And whether they mean to or not, they can project that negativity right onto you. This is why being selective or even completely silent about your plans is one of the smartest choices you can make. The world is full of people who don't want to see you win. It doesn't always come from obvious enemies either. Sometimes it comes from friends, coworkers, even family. Why? Because your ambition reminds them of what they're not doing. Your dreams remind them of the ones they gave up on. When you start speaking about your plans, they start looking at themselves and realizing they've settled. That discomfort often turns into resistance directed at you. Instead of encouragement, you get sarcasm. Instead of support, you get doubt. They may not come out and say, I don't want you to succeed, but their words and actions reveal it. Imagine you tell someone close to you that you're starting a business. You're excited, your vision feels alive, and you're eager to share it. But instead of encouragement, they say, do you really think that's realistic? What if it fails? You should probably stick to something safe. Now maybe they're disguising it as advice, but underneath that advice is fear. And often it's not even your fear, it's theirs. They're projecting their limitations onto you. The more you listen, the more you start questioning yourself. That seed of doubt they planted begins to grow. And suddenly, your spark feels weaker. This is how sharing with the wrong people can sabotage you before you even begin. Some people don't want you to win simply because it disrupts the balance of the relationship. If you rise, it forces them to confront the fact that they've stayed the same. If you move forward, it highlights that they've been standing still. Instead of being inspired by you, they might resent you. It's not always because they're bad people. It's because human nature struggles with comparison. Your progress becomes their insecurity. Your dream becomes their reminder of what they never had the courage to chase. And that's why it's dangerous to reveal too much. The moment your vision leaves your lips, it becomes vulnerable to other people's insecurities. Jealousy is another factor. Let's not sugarcoat it. Some people are jealous of your drive, your creativity, your courage. They don't have it in them. So when they see it in you, they feel threatened. If you tell them your plans, they might try to discourage you, downplay your goals, or even sabotage you in small ways. Sometimes it's subtle, a dismissive comment, a lack of support, a shift in how they treat you. Other times it's direct. They'll tell you outright that your dream is impossible. But whether subtle or obvious, The message is the same. Don't grow too much. Don't rise too high. Don't make me feel small. And here's the kicker. You don't always see it coming. Some of the people who don't want you to win are the ones closest to you. It's not always malice. Sometimes it's disguised as love. A parent who tells you to take the safe route because they don't want you to get hurt. A friend who says your dream is unrealistic because they're afraid you'll outgrow them. A colleague who pretends to support you but secretly doesn't want you to surpass them. These are the moments when you must remember your vision was given to you, not to them. It's not their job to understand it. It's your job to protect it. Silence becomes your shield. When you don't announce every plan, you give people less room to project, less opportunity to interfere. You keep your focus pure. Instead of fighting their doubts, you channel that energy into building. Instead of defending your dream, you spend that time executing it. Silence strips away their power over your vision. By keeping it private, you remove the possibility of them contaminating it with fear, jealousy, or negativity. There's also something powerful about the element of surprise. When people don't see your moves coming, they can't prepare their resistance. They can't criticize what they don't know about. They can't sabotage what hasn't been revealed. And by the time your results show, it's too late. They have no choice but to acknowledge what you've already accomplished. That's the beauty of moving in silence. You leave no room for opposition, only for results. Now let's be clear. Not everyone is against you. There are people who will genuinely support you. There are mentors, true friends, loved ones who want to see you thrive. But the truth is, those people are rare. And until you can clearly tell the difference between who's for you and who isn't, it's safer to hold your plans close. Your vision is too valuable to gamble with. One wrong conversation, one wrong reaction, one careless word of doubt can throw you off course if you're not careful. So ask yourself this: how many times have you shared a plan and felt your excitement shrink after the conversation? How many times did someone's doubt linger in your head, even when you didn't want it to? How many times did you feel less motivated after telling someone instead of more? That's the proof. Not everyone wants you to win, and the best way to deal with that truth is not to give them the chance to interfere in the first place. Protect your vision the way you protect a seed before it breaks the soil. You don't dig it up every day to show people. You don't expose it to harsh winds before it's ready. You plant it deep, you water it quietly, you let it grow in silence until it's strong enough to withstand anything. And by the time the world sees it, it's no longer fragile. It's undeniable. Not everyone wants you to win. That's fine. They don't need to. Because your victory doesn't come from their support. It comes from your discipline, your patience, and your silence. Keep your plans close. Let your work be the proof. Let your success be the announcement. And when it comes, those who doubted will have no choice but to witness what they never believed in. We live in a world where everyone is quick to talk. People announce their goals, their plans, their next big move before they've even taken the first step. Social media is flooded with declarations. I'm going to start this business. I'm going to transform my life. I'm going to achieve greatness. And while those words might sound powerful in the moment, the truth is, words mean nothing without action. Talk is cheap. It's execution that speaks. It's what you do that proves who you are, not what you promise. Think about it. How many times have you heard someone go on and on about what they're going to do only to realize months or years later they're still in the same place? The energy they spent talking could have been spent building. The time they wasted explaining could have been invested in creating. But instead they became prisoners of their own words. They told the world so much that when it came time to actually deliver, there was nothing to show. And the respect they wanted through words was lost because they had no results to back it up. Execution is what separates dreamers from doers. Anyone can dream. Anyone can say what they want. But very few can wake up early, push through resistance, fight through doubt, and keep going when nobody's watching. That's what execution is: consistent, relentless effort that speaks louder than any announcement ever could. When you move in silence and let your actions do the talking, you gain a kind of respect that words could never buy. Because people might doubt what you say, but they can't deny what they see. Imagine two people. One talks endlessly about writing a book, telling everyone how it will change lives. The other says nothing and quietly works every night, writing page after page. Months later, the first person is still talking. The second person is holding a finished book. Who do you respect more? Who do you believe? Who commands attention? It's always the one who executes. Words fade, but results last. There's also something powerful about the element of surprise that comes with execution. When you talk, people expect, they wait, they judge, they hold you accountable to words even if you're not ready. that pressure can become heavy, and if you don't deliver, it turns into embarrassment. But when you don't talk, when you just act, your results arrive like thunder out of nowhere. They strike harder because nobody saw them coming. And instead of explaining yourself, you let your success do all the explaining for you. Execution also builds credibility. When you consistently show results, people begin to trust you. They know you're not just someone who talks, you're someone who delivers. That trust opens doors, creates opportunities, and draws respect. Meanwhile, the talkers lose credibility with every unfulfilled promise. Each time they say, I'm going to about following through, their words lose weight. But the executor doesn't need to say anything. Their work carries its own authority. Think about great leaders, innovators, or athletes. They didn't need to go around telling people how great they were going to be. They proved it. Michael Jordan didn't talk his way into greatness. He showed up on the court and dominated. Entrepreneurs who built empires didn't spend their time convincing people of their vision with endless chatter. They worked day and night until their vision was real. Their execution made believers out of the doubters. Their results silenced the critics. And execution isn't just about the big wins. It's about the small, consistent actions that nobody sees. Waking up early, practicing when no one is around, making sacrifices others aren't willing to make. These things may not look glamorous, but they're the foundation of every success story. And when the moment comes to shine, it looks effortless to the outside world. But behind that moment are hours, days, years of execution in silence. That's the part talkers never understand. They want the recognition without the grind. But execution demands you pay the price before you collect the reward. Another truth, talking can actually weaken execution. Every time you tell people what you're going to do, you give away energy. You release momentum that should have been fueling your actions. You invite opinions, judgments, and even distractions. Suddenly, you're spending more time explaining and defending your plan than actually working on it. That's why the strongest players in any field are the ones who move quietly. They don't waste breath trying to convince anyone. They save that breath for the work itself. So what does execution look like? It looks like focus. It looks like discipline. It looks like showing up on the days you don't feel like it. It looks like moving without applause, grinding without recognition, and staying committed even when nobody notices. Execution is when your vision becomes your responsibility, not your announcement. It's when you stop telling the world what you'll do and start showing them what you've done. And here's the beautiful thing. Execution creates its own momentum. Once you start producing results, no matter how small, that progress fuels you. It builds confidence. It makes you hungry for more. And the more you execute, the less you even feel the need to talk. Because you realize that silence with results is infinitely more powerful than noise without them. Think about how powerful it is to walk into a room and let your work introduce you. No long speeches, no explanations, no promises, just undeniable results. That's strength. That's respect. That's power. People can argue with your words, but they can't argue with your reality. They might dismiss your plan when you talk about it, but they can't dismiss your success when it's staring them in the face. So stop wasting energy trying to convince others of what you'll do. Stop seeking validation through words. Protect your vision, conserve your energy, and channel it into action. Execution is the language the world respects. It doesn't need translation. It doesn't need explanation. It's universal. When you deliver, people listen. When you build, people notice. When you execute, people believe. At the end of the day, nobody remembers what you said you were going to do. They remember what you did. They remember the results you left behind. Let that be your legacy. Not empty promises, not endless declarations, but proof that you had the discipline, the resilience, and the courage to act. Because in this life, execution will always speak louder than words. Always. The moment you open your mouth and share your plans, you open the door for other people's opinions to walk in. And here's the problem. Not every opinion builds you up. In fact, most of them will weigh you down. Some people will question you. Some will laugh at you. Others will tell you all the reasons it won't work. Even when their intentions aren't bad, their words can still plant seeds of doubt in your mind. And if you're not careful, those seeds can grow into hesitation, fear, and even abandonment of your dream. This is why silence is powerful. It protects you from the weight of other people's negativity. It shields your vision from being contaminated before it's strong enough to stand on its own. Think about how fragile a dream is at the beginning. That's like a newborn seed in the soil. You wouldn't expose it to harsh winds or careless hands before it even sprouts. You'd keep it buried, safe, watered in silence until it's ready to grow. The same is true for your goal. When you first decide you want to do something, whether it's starting a business, writing a book, changing your lifestyle, or chasing a personal mission, that dream is fragile. It's vulnerable. It needs your protection. Sharing it too soon is like ripping it out of the soil and letting people step on it before it's had the chance to take root. Other people's doubts have a way of sneaking into your mind even when you think you're strong enough to ignore them. Someone says that's too risky and suddenly you start wondering if maybe they're right. Another person says nobody in your situation has done that before, and you start to question whether you're reaching too far. Their doubts echo in your head at night, replaying when you're supposed to be focused. And without realizing it, you start slowing down. You start hesitating. You start second-guessing yourself. That's the silent power of negativity. It doesn't need to shout. Even a whisper can derail your momentum if you let it in. And it's not just doubt, it's discouragement. People will tell you their version of reality based on their own limitations. They'll say that's impossible, not because it is, but because it was impossible for them. They'll say you can't do that, not because you can't, but because they never could. They'll try to hand you their failures like a gift, expecting you to carry them as your own. But their limitations are not your truth. Their doubts are not your destiny. The only way those things become yours is if you accept them. And one of the easiest ways to avoid that trap is to never let their voices near your vision in the first place. Negativity can also come disguised as care. Someone might say, I just don't want to see you get hurt, or I'm only saying this for your own good. It sounds kind. It sounds protective. But beneath those words is fear. Their fear, not yours. And when you let their fear wrap around your plan, it suffocates your courage. Suddenly you start protecting yourself from outcomes that don't even exist yet. You stop taking risks because you've absorbed someone else's anxiety. You trade your boldness for their comfort. And in doing so, you rob yourself of the chance to see what you're truly capable of. This is why silence is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's knowing that not everyone deserves access to your vision. It's understanding that your plan doesn't need to be debated. It needs to be executed. Silence protects you from unnecessary battles. When you don't reveal your moves, you don't invite resistance. You don't give critics ammunition. You don't allow negativity to shape your journey. Instead, you move forward with clarity, with focus, with your energy intact. Think about some of the greatest breakthroughs in history. They weren't achieved by people who spent their time convincing others of what they were going to do. They were achieved by people who worked quietly, relentlessly, often against the doubt of the entire world. Imagine if the Wright brothers had let the doubts of others stop them from trying to fly. Imagine if innovators had let the voices of, "That's impossible," silence their work. History is full of people who ignored the noise and pressed forward. If they had let negativity win, we wouldn't have the world we live in today. Negativity also drains energy. Every time you argue with someone about your plan, every time you try to justify your dream, you're spending energy that could have been used for building it. Doubt is exhausting to fight against, and the more you expose yourself to it, the more it wears you down. But when you stay silent, you save that energy. You keep it stored. You use it for your own growth instead of wasting it on defending yourself. That's how silence becomes a shield. It doesn't just block out doubt, it preserves your strength. You need to understand something important. Not everyone is capable of seeing what you see. Your vision was given to you for a reason. It lives in your heart, your mind, your soul, not there. Expecting them to understand it is like expecting someone to read a book that hasn't even been written yet. They don't see the picture in your head. They don't feel the fire in your chest. So why let them hold a pen over your unfinished pages? Why let them dictate a story they were never meant to write? Protect it. Keep it yours until it's undeniable. And here's the beauty: when you finally let your results speak, doubt dies on its own. People who once told you it couldn't be done will go silent when they see you've done it. Negativity loses its voice in the face of proof. That's why execution is the greatest answer to doubt. Not words, not arguments, not debates, proof. And the best way to get to that proof is to keep quiet long enough to build it without interference. So protect your dreams like you would protect a flame in the wind. Keep them covered until they're strong enough to burn on their own. Don't let other people's fears, insecurities, or limitations dim your fire. Silence isn't about hiding. It's about giving your vision the space it needs to grow without interruption. Because once it's strong, once it's real, once it's standing in front of the world, no amount of doubt or negativity can erase it. Your silence is your shield. Use it. Let it guard your focus, your energy, your courage. Because the moment you learn to protect yourself from doubt and negativity, you become unstoppable. Not because the noise stops, but because you stop giving it a place in your journey. There is a certain power in being underestimated. There is a strength in moving without noise, in working where nobody is looking, and in striking when no one expects it. That power is called the element of surprise. In a world where people broadcast their every thought, every move, every goal, the person who keeps quiet, who builds in silence, who doesn't reveal their next step, becomes the most dangerous player in the game. Because nobody can stop what they cannot see coming. When you talk too much about your plans, you give people time to prepare. You give them a chance to criticize, to compete, to copy, or to interfere. You reveal your playbook before you've even stepped onto the field. And once it's out there, you lose the advantage. But when you move quietly, when you let your results appear out of nowhere, the impact is 10 times stronger. It's like lightning. You don't hear it coming. You just see the strike. By the time people notice, it's already too late. That is the power of surprise. Surprise creates impact because it leaves no room for resistance. If people don't know what you're working on, they can't sabotage it. They can't talk you out of it. They can't compete with you in a game they don't even realize you're playing. And by keeping your plans close, you protect them until they're ready to be revealed. And when they finally are, there's nothing anyone can do but react. That's the position of strength you want to be in. Not defending your dreams, but presenting them as finished reality. Think of the greatest moves in history, whether in business, sports, or even strategy. The ones that made the biggest mark often weren't announced ahead of time. They came as surprises. A company suddenly launches a product nobody saw coming, and it changes the industry overnight. An athlete unveils a new level of performance, leaving the competition stunned. A leader makes a move that nobody predicted, shifting the balance of power. That shock is what gives them the edge. If they had talked about it for months beforehand, the impact would have been diluted. But because they kept it hidden, the effect was explosive. The element of surprise also gives you freedom. When nobody knows what you're doing, you're free to experiment, to fail, to adjust, without the world watching. You're not weighed down by expectations or judgments. You can build, break, and rebuild without the pressure of an audience. That freedom is priceless. It gives you room to grow at your own pace, to correct mistakes quietly, to prepare in private, so that when you finally step forward, you are sharp, polished, and undeniable. There's also a psychological advantage in surprise. When you reveal something unexpected, it disrupts how people see you. It forces them to reevaluate. Maybe they underestimated you. Maybe they assumed you were average, predictable, or stuck in the same place. And then you drop results that they never saw coming. Suddenly, the image they had of you shatters. They can't box you in anymore. They can't doubt you so easily. The element of surprise forces respect. It shifts power back into your hand. Think about how it feels to see someone you know suddenly succeed in a way you never imagined. One moment, you weren't even thinking about them. The next, they're standing in front of you with undeniable proof of growth. It hits harder because it wasn't expected. That's the reaction you want. That's the force silence gives you. The less people know, the more powerful the reveal. The truth is, most people talk themselves out of their own power by oversharing. They post every step online. They tell every friend their next move. They broadcast their vision before it's even real. And by the time they get there, if they get there, the impact is gone. Everyone already knew. Everyone already expected it. There's no shock, no strength, no force behind it. They gave away their advantage for the cheap reward of attention. Don't make that mistake. Attention today is worthless compared to impact tomorrow. Surprise also protects you from competition. If you reveal your ideas too soon, someone else might take them and run faster than you. But when you keep quiet, you eliminate that risk. You work in the dark, unseen, untouched, building something unique that only you know about. And when you finally unveil it, it's already too late for anyone to replicate. You've already taken the lead while they were still guessing what you were up to. That's strategy. That's power. Even in your personal life, the element of surprise matters. Imagine working on yourself quietly, changing your habits, improving your health, building your mindset without telling a soul. Then one day, you show up as a different person. Stronger, sharper, more disciplined. People will wonder how you did it. They'll ask when you started, but you won't need to explain. The transformation itself will speak. That silent evolution will always command more respect than loud declarations of, I'm gonna change. Silence, then, is not emptiness. It's strategy. It's the deliberate choice to protect your moves until they're too solid to be shaken. It's understanding that noise gets attention, but surprise creates impact. It's realizing that what people don't see coming always leaves the deepest mark. So ask yourself, do you want to be predictable, or do you want to be powerful? Do you want to give people a heads up, or do you want to shock them with results? Because you can't have both. If you reveal too soon, you give away the advantage. If you wait, if you build in silence, if you embrace the element of surprise, you create moments that nobody can forget. At the end of the day, people remember the strike of lightning, not the sound of distant thunder. Be the strike. Work in silence. Build without noise. Move without warning. And when the time comes, let the world see results so unexpected, so undeniable, that they have no choice but to stop, stare, and respect the power of your silence. Silence is not weakness. It is strategy. It is not emptiness. It is power. When you hold your plans close, you protect your energy, you guard your vision, and you build without interference. You free yourself from the noise of doubters, from the envy of those who don't want you to win, from the weight of expectations that come with empty words. You stop chasing validation and start creating results. And those results, when they finally appear, will speak for you in ways your voice never could. Understand this. The world doesn't need to hear what you're gonna do. The world needs to see what you've already done. That is how respect is earned. That is how power is claimed. Not through promises, but through proof. Not through declarations, but through execution. So from this moment forward, make a choice. Stop telling people your every move. Stop giving away your fire in words. Keep your vision sacred. Work in silence, move in silence, build in silence, and when the time is right, let your success be so undeniable, so loud, so shocking that it drowns out every doubt, silences every critic, and commands respect without you saying a single word. Because in the end, silence is not about hiding. It's about winning. And the loudest statement you will ever make is the life you build in the shadows, revealed only when it is unshakable, unstoppable, and undeniable.